Guys, this is my first YouTube video without Jen. Super nerve-wracking, but it was super fun to make. I decided to do this super colorful look because I have so many friends ask me, why do you buy all those colorful palettes? You have nowhere to wear them to, but there is a way to get away with wearing a lot of color without it being too much. This might be too much for some people. It's not too much for me. This is going out, maybe not dinner, maybe just going out. But I love it. I love playing with color. I love doing unexpected colors together. Um, Pretty much always lean towards some oranges and some yellows, some pinks. Those are my faves. But I definitely want to start jumping into some greens and some blues because I never play with those. But today I thought I'd do this fire look. It's yellow on the lid, super easy. It only took me 40 minutes to do it, which is not a lot for me. But yeah. Alright guys, so I always start with the tail of my brow, and I start at the arch and I blend down. You always want the darkest part of your brow to be on the tail and the lightest to be in the center of your face. Then I go in with my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer and I carve out the bottom of my brow first. This gives it a more clean look. It definitely makes the brow look sharper, and you can fix any mistakes that you made. I always put a little bit of concealer in the front of the brow, and I'll take that later and blend it into the actual brow. That's going to give it more of a gradient look. That way it doesn't look like the brow is just stuck on your face. You really want it to be blended. Now I'm taking this brush and blending out the harsh lines, but I'm really trying to still keep that brightness right underneath the brow. Now I'm going in with some more Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm just going to use that as a primer on the lids. I'm not really into normal eyeshadow primer. I find that concealer works better for me. It helps with the longevity, and it definitely helps with the color payoff. I put a pretty good amount on, and then I'm going to take a small beauty blender and just blend it in. After that, I'm going to grab my Thirsty palette by Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and I'm going to start by just packing that yellow shade onto my lid. I didn't set the eyeshadow, the concealer with shadow because I really wanted the pigment to show up bright. If I wasn't really caring too much and I was doing more of a everyday look, I would have set that concealer with some powder. That way when I go in to blend, it doesn't tug. But for something as bright as this, I do want the pigment to pop. I'm blending up into the lid, but I'm not going to blend it out too much because that's where we're going to place the orange. Now with a little definer crease brush, I'm going to start building up the orange color. I'm going to actually start on the yellow color so that there's no patchiness from going straight onto the lid. I'm just taking one of the lighter orange shades first, and then we're going to build it up into a deeper orange. But if you start lighter, it's much, much easier to blend than starting dark. This also helps so that you don't give that muddy look and the colors won't blend together as much. Now I'm taking the deeper orange and I'm just going to place that in my outer V. This is going to give the eyes more of an open look. I'm going to take that darker shade and just bring it up a little bit so that it blends with the lighter orange. making sure to work from the outer corner to the inner corner so that the majority of our pigment is in the outer. Putting darker pigment on the inner corner of your eye is going to make your eyes look smaller. Alrighty, so now that eyeshadow is finished for now, I'm going to go in with the Huda Beauty Fauxfilter foundation and just start blending that on my forehead. I typically skip a primer because for me it makes my makeup slip. I don't find that I need it. My makeup lasts all day regardless. So I'm just going to go in and blend that on the forehead. I always work in sections with this particular foundation because it dries down really quick. So I start on the forehead and then I'll work on the rest of the face. After foundation, I go in with my Tarte Shape Tape, making a little triangle under my eye. This helps bring brightness to the center of the face so that when you contour later, it's a little bit more obvious where you're going to put the darker. I always like to cut that piece of foundation that connects my outer eye. That way, when I go, if I were to do a wing, it kind of gives me the shape already. Now I'm taking my Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just going to set my under eyes with that. I use a beauty blender because I find that it helps me blend out the lines while placing the powder down so that we don't have to worry about under eye lines later. I'm also kind of cutting that eyeshadow in the outer corner so that it gives the eye a more uplifted look and it doesn't drag the eye down. Now I'm going in with my Charlotte Tilbury powder. I'm going to use a beauty blender. It's like a beauty blender sponge type deal. I really like it. It presses it in for me so that I don't have to have any brush strokes at the end. Because sometimes if you just put powder on, you'll get some brush strokes. So now I'm going to blend it with the brush, and we're good to go. Now we're taking the KKW under eye powder. This really brightens. It doesn't do a lot of concealing. It just brightens the under eye. I could do without it. I really like it for a full coverage look, though, because it just makes it look less messy. Now I'm going to take my Kat Von D Shade and Light, my fave, and I'm going to take the contour shade that I'm obviously running out of, and I'm going to cut my cheekbones. That's my Nars Ita brush, fave. So I know where my cheekbones are. If you don't, you can kind of use your fingers to find where that bone is, and you want to go right underneath that cheekbone. I also do my forehead because, you don't want a big forehead. And mine's already kind of big. Now I'm just doing it to the other side. And you really want to make sure to blend that because you don't want harsh lines for your contour. Get a little bit on the nose. That just kind of brings the whole contour together. Now I'm going to take my Becca bronzer and I'm going a little bit above and a little bit below that contour. It's going to help kind of bring it all together. I almost go right on top of the contour because I don't like it to be too gray. So this brings some warmth to it. Gives you that sun-kissed look. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, this Becca bronzer, and it makes the face look less matte, even though I am extremely matte with my products. It gives the illusion that I'm hydrated. Put a little bit on the chin, help with that double chin life. Now we're taking the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. I like to use this in the center of my forehead. Sometimes I'll use only this, but this is a beautiful highlight for someone who doesn't like a strong highlight. Sometimes I'll even take this all over the face just to give like a gleam. Oh, it's so pretty. Now I'm going to go in with my Hourglass blush. I pretty much mix all three shades all the time. I love the combination. I'm just placing that on my cheekbones, bringing it a little farther back so that it blends in with the bronzer. Now I'm going to take my translucent powder and cut my contour. So this is baking. I'm going to bake it, and the reason I do this is because if your contour and bronzer get too low on your face, it drags the whole face down. If you do this, it raises those cheekbones up and it helps give your face a slimmer look. Now I'm going to go in with that same yellow shade and start on my lower lash line. A good rule for your lower lash line is to try to use every color that you used on the lid on the lower lash line. It brings the whole look together. So I start with the yellow and then I'll pull in those oranges later to give the eye a finished look. I'll take that orange and kind of go a little bit lower, making the eyes look bigger. Alright, so I popped on some mascara and now I'm going to wipe off my bake. You can see it cuts it and it doesn't look too harsh. I'm going to go ahead and blend it just a little bit because you definitely don't want that straight line. You don't want to make it look obvious. Now I'm going to take my Morphe setting mist and drench myself and then apply some Anastasia highlight on top of it. So if your face is still a little tacky, it helps the highlight sit and stick and almost make you look like you're glowing from within, which is always my goal, because you never want it to look like it's accentuating your texture. So I'm just taking this everywhere. It's my fave product. And that's the Amerzy highlighter by Anastasia. Now I'm taking that same highlighter and putting it in my inner corner. This is also a trick to help you open up your eyes. By placing the darker in the outside, light on the inside, it gives the eyes a very round look. I'm always trying to make my eyes look bigger. That's why I don't normally wear a lot of eyeliner. It can sometimes make the eyes look closed off. Now I'm going in with my setting spray by Urban Decay, the All Nighter. This guy helps my foundation stay longer. It's kind of what I use in place of a primer. I find that it works great. Now I'm taking this Nars lip and I am just filling those lips in. They're looking kind of white.